Markets continue to rip ahead of the Fed FOMC decision due out tomorrow. But more importantly than the decision will be the comments from Jay Powell. Everybody hangs on every word that comes out of the Fed's mouth. So let's take a look at what's going on. Markets closed up about 1% on the Dow, 1.3 on the S&P, 1.58 on the NASDAQ, as everybody looks to the Fed. And what the markets are pricing in is a potential pivot from the Fed or slowing and a rate hike or a rate cut by the end of the year. So that's what markets are all up on. With all the news that's going on, the markets are pricing in right now the potential for a rate cut by the end of the year. So what Powell says tomorrow in terms of guidance for the terminal rate that they're targeting is going to be crucial and important to how the markets react to that. And of course, a lot of this was led by the bank stocks. First Republic had a nice little, had some nice little price action today, up overall on the day about 30%. It was up as much as 50% at one point. So that was the one leading the bank stocks today. But other than that, no real, anything new right now. Everything is quiet with the banks after the Credit Suisse takeover by UBS, First Republic getting deposits from other banks to help bolster their liquidity, and of course, waiting on the Fed decision. So let's jump in and take a look at the charts here real quick. And this is the Dow. Let's go ahead and put it on the moving averages because a lot of the technicals play on this 200 moving average. The Dow getting back above the 200-day moving average once again. This price action here looks a lot like what's happened with Bitcoin, catching a bounce. We'll take a look at that in a minute. NASDAQ still staying above that 200-day, S&P closing above the 200-day once again. And then we'll take a look at Bitcoin, catapulting off the 200-day there, jumping about 37, 38% now from the low of this range. Overall, about 45% actually. So nice move for Bitcoin. The question is this going to continue, or is this the end of the run right now for Bitcoin before a retracement, potentially revisiting some of these lows around the 200-day or previous lows set back in November? So really, at the end of the day, what this is all going to depend on is what the Fed does, where we go, how the economy looks overall, because Bitcoin is tied to the traditional markets and has followed suit lockstep with traditional markets, especially gold. Gold kind of nice little bounce and then reversed. So we'll have to see if that's going to continue or if this is just a little gut check and continues to move on. The VIX reversing. We'll take the moving averages off because that doesn't really come into play with the VIX. But VIX, had a little spike, reversed. So potentially looking for another spike there. Dixie rolling over once again. The interesting thing now are the rates. So the 2-year has rebounded a little bit. So has the 10-year in terms of the treasuries, caught a little bit of a bid there. And let's take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum following suit. XRP had a little bounce today, getting everybody excited. Cardano, Solana, some of the altcoins starting to move a little bit. And that's what the big question is when Bitcoin retraces this move, which it will eventually get a pullback. The question is, what are the altcoins going to do? Are they going to run, or are they going to, continue to go even lower? And I guess a lot of it's going to depend on how big of a pullback we get. Now, let's take another look. As you know, I like to turn the noise off a lot of times so you can kind of see. And let's take a look at the overall markets here and turn the noise off where you can kind of see price action, trends, momentum, ranges, things like that. And that's what I was saying. This price action here looks a lot like what's happened with Bitcoin recently. If you look at this little spot here with a bounce, kind of similar here to the Dow with this little jump here and a roll. What I like to do a lot of times is take a different perspective and invert the scale. And I tweeted earlier with the chart of Bitcoin. Then when you look at the invert on this scale, what does this look like here? Looks like a bottoming pattern that, is going on for, for new highs, right? In this case, new highs would be lows, right? Since this is the top of the market here. So this kind of looks like it's catching a bounce and is going to continue on up. If you look at the NASDAQ kind of rolling over here, kind of topping, hitting some support right here. They could potentially continue back on further. almost like a V bottom situation there. S&P, same thing, V bottom situation here, looking for more potential continuation as it ranges here, wanting to spike. Here's the SPY. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. So here's Bitcoin. So when you look at this chart here with a double bottom and jumping out of it, this looks like a pullback that wants to consolidate potentially in this area right here and then continue on further, which again would be lower. So when you look at the inverse, you could kind of look at that. Or some people would say, well, maybe this is rolling over. It's going to continue to come back here and recheck this level, which would again be all-time highs. So it'd be interesting. I put out a tweet earlier. I kind of showed it from this perspective and asked, is this bullish? And had some pretty interesting answers there on Twitter with that one. Let's take a look at it and see what we've got here so far on that tweet. So here's the late adopter, has a good YouTube channel. You guys should go check him out, the late adopter. He does some pretty good technical analysis. I am not a technical analyst by any stretch of the imagination. I'm an opportunistic macro investor and trading the ranges and the trends, but called it out right here. He saw exactly what I did there in terms of whether that was bullish or bearish. A lot of great comments. So any way you look at it, looks bearish, inverted, and bias would be also bearish. Ranging would likely pull back to the upside current level. This is BTC inverted, so might suggesting that BTC will go up. So a lot of different ways to look at it, but most people are saying it's a bearish looking chart when you reverse it this way, headed down to this new all-time high. So if that's correct, that could be the potential outcome, that BTC could be wanting to test that new range back where it came from. So let's get back to the charts as it was here. And there it is right there. So this looks like it wants to consolidate and maybe go for a continuation on, right? So unless something happens, I mean, that's what the charts are looking like. The charts are looking like this is a reversal. Price wants to consolidate. Let's bring the candles back on here and, continue to consolidate in this area and then potentially move on up. So that's what it looks like it wants to do. The question is, will the Fed allow it? What is going to be the market's response to what's going to happen tomorrow, which is most likely what the market's pricing in. The consensus seems to be a 25 basis point rate hike versus a 50. The question is, are they going to continue? Are they going to provide guidance? And what is the terminal rate that they're targeting by the end of the year? So that's what the markets are looking at. These are the things I'm looking at. We will see you tomorrow after the Fed decision to see what the future holds. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.